So it's nice to be here with you. What I'd like to talk about today is the process of going on retreat, and a little bit about what's that's like and what we get out of it. And I thought maybe the first place to start is just to ask how many of you have been on a retreat? Yeah, good. The retreats I go on, and I'm involved with an organization, America Dharma. The retreats that we put on are silent retreats. So when we go on these retreats, we don't talk to anybody, except the teachers, when they tell us that we can interact with them about something. Or if maybe we're in the dining hall and we need to say, "Pass the salt, please." So when I tell people, I like to go on retreats, and so I tell them, I'm going on a retreat this coming week. And they say, "Really? What's that like?" "Well, it's a silent retreat." Silent? Yeah, people don't talk. They don't talk? I said, "No." And the response is very frequently, "Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't go days without talking. It just seems impossible." And yet, if one actually tries it for a while, for a day or two, then one often finds that when we're not talking, when we're silent, we're not having to pay attention to what other people are saying, while at the same time trying to figure out how we're going to respond to them. What am I going to say back? And we're also not having to pay such close attention to what they're saying or doing as it relates to me and how I need to respond to that in some way. So when we have this experience where we don't need to be monitoring what's going on so closely or figuring out how we're going to respond to it, what we're going to say, then after a while we often notice that I'm not feeling quite as stressed as I normally do. That there's actually a quality of stress just associated with this basic way of interacting that we all have. We might even notice that although it can be challenging at times to not speak with other people, that it can also be sometimes quite delightful just to have some time like that. And it's not that there's anything wrong with talking. Obviously, it's an essential part of our lives. But when we're silent, it allows us to begin to turn inward because we don't have to be focused outside so much. And we begin to see how our own minds and hearts are. And the Buddha gives us an idea of why that's important in the first verses of a collection called the Dhammapada. The verses are, at least in one translation, all experience is preceded by mind, led by mind, made by mind. Speak or act with an impure mind, and suffering follows, as the wagon wheel follows the foot of the ox. All experience is preceded by mind, led by mind, made by mind. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness follows, like the never departing shadow. So it's important to know how our minds are perceiving and responding to the world of our experience. When our minds respond in impure ways, in other words, out of greed, hatred, or delusion, then ultimately our experience is unsatisfactory, stressful, or we may even suffer pain. In early Buddhism, this word delusion can be taken to mean a number of things. But in early Buddhism, delusion simply means not seeing things as they truly are. When our minds respond in pure ways, in other words, out of generosity, kindness, goodwill, and wisdom, then we experience happiness, peace, and harmony. So we meditate. We turn inward to see what's going on. We give attention to the experience of our bodies and how we're relating to that experience. We give attention to our minds, watching them, listening to them, and investigating what's going on. Letting go of the things that lead to unsatisfactoriness while reinforcing the things that lead to peace and harmony. In these ways, we train our minds to become pure, more pure, and help ourselves to become at peace with the way things are. All of this is a gradual process. It takes time and repetition. Time and repetition can take many forms. If we meditate every day, this consistency really makes a difference in our practices and our lives. Each time we meditate, and you may have noticed this for yourselves, each time we meditate, we have to spend time and energy simply settling the mind from all the stimulation and activity that it has absorbed since the last time we meditated. At least that's my experience. So if we only meditate once a day, then that means a large part of our period of meditation may simply be spent on settling things down and getting back in that meditative groove. Another form of time and repetition is to meditate multiple times a day for multiple days. In other words, what we do when we go on retreat. When we're on retreat, we may do sitting meditation for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and then do a walking meditation for a period of time. And even when we're not alternating between sitting and walking, we're trying to maintain a meditative kind of mind. Trying to maintain a continuity of mindfulness. So, because of this, we don't have to spend so much time on recovery, on getting back into the groove the next time we sit down to formally meditate. This continuity of mindfulness not only strengthens our ability to be mindful, not only during the day while we're on retreat, but when we come home. But while we're on retreat, it also strengthens our ability to collect and focus attention, what's called concentration often. And stronger mindfulness and concentration are conditions that contribute to the arising of insights. Seeing and knowing things as they truly are. Wisdom. It's not an intellectual knowing, although intellectual knowing, study, listening to Dharma talks, plays an important part in getting us to what's really important, which is focusing our attention on what we're experiencing and in our own direct experience, seeing what's true.